everyone, and thanks for joining us for our online worship experience. If this is your first time joining us, click the connect link on our homepage and let us know who you are. We'd love to say hi. Help us get the good news of Jesus out to everyone. Take a minute to like, share, and text all of your friends and family to join you at online.myvillage.church. If you are watching on Facebook, start a watch party and invite everyone you know. Take some pictures of you and your family watching the live stream and tag us. Even though we are not meeting in person as a church, we still stand together as a church family. If there is anything you need, don't hesitate to ask. We even put a button on the homepage of our website so that you can fill out any urgent needs you have, so that the church can support you and lift you up during these times. Pay close attention to all of our social media pages and email for any schedule changes or updates. The church is not the building we meet in, it's you and I loving and serving one another and our community. Now, if you are used to giving in person and you want to support all God is doing through the village and worship God with your giving, we have a few different ways for you to do that. You can text any amount to the number listed below or visit our website at www.myvillage.church and click on the Giving tab. Both of these are secure and safe ways to give. With that being said, let's get ready to jump into worship together.
I searched the world, but it couldn't fill me. Man's empty graves and treasures that fade are never enough. Then you came along and put me back together. Is now satisfied here in your love. Hey, 'cause there's nothing better than you. Lord, there's nothing is better than you. Come on, sing this part with us, let's go. Lord, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you. Lord, there's nothing is better than you.
There's nothing.
You turn graves into gardens. You turn bones into armies. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one who can. You turn graves into gardens.
Turn bones into armies.
Making waves out the sea.
Turn seas into highways.
You're the only
One who can.
You're the only one who can. Sing it with me. One who can. Come on, clap your hands. Clap your hands. Yeah. Anybody believe he's the only one that can turn it around? Anybody believe he's the only one that can turn it around? Oh yeah. I don't think we're done. Sing this part with us. Come on. Sing it with me now. You turn mourning to dancing. You give beauty for ashes. You turn shame into glory. You're the only one who can. You turn graves into gardens. Turn my bones into
Turn bones
armies.
into armies.
Make a way out of sea.
Turn seas into highways.
You're the
Only one who
can. You turn graves into gardens. You turn bones into armies. Yeah. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one who can. You're the only
one who can.
The only one who can.
Hey Village family, as you can probably see, I'm not in Albuquerque. Oh, I'm not in Colorado right now. I'm in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And so I've asked Scott Cochran to bring you guys a very special Greatest Stories Ever Told message. He's going to be talking to you about Sampson today. And so I'm super excited for you to hear from him. You guys give Scott a whole bunch of love. I'm so grateful to everybody who's come alongside of us and then contributed to this series and given us their take on some of the greatest stories ever told. We love you guys. We can't wait. Next week, we meet you guys for real in person at Maverick Mesa Park, right in the heart of Candelas. We all going to meet together as one family at Maverick Mesa Park, 10 a.m. next week. Make plans, save the date. Don't miss it. I love you guys.
Morning, church. I'm honored that Pastor Kiko asked me to present today's message. I'm going to tell the story of Sampson from the book of Judges. The Israelites had done evil in the Lord's eyes, so he handed them over to the Philistines, who oppressed them for 40 years. Manoah and his wife lived in Zorah, and she was unable to become pregnant. One day, a man appeared to Manoah's wife and said to her, "You will soon be pregnant with a son." And as a warning, he told her not to drink wine or any alcohol, nor eat any forbidden fruit. Your son's hair must never be cut. He will be dedicated as a Nazirite from birth, and he will begin to rescue Israel from the Philistines. She told Manoah what the angel had said, and he prayed to the Lord, asking the angel to return with more instructions. God answered the prayer, and while she was without Manoah, she ran to get him so he could hear what the angel had to say. Manoah asked, "What kind of rules should govern the boy's life?" The angel replied, "Be sure your wife follows the instructions I gave her. Must not eat grapes or raisins, must not drink wine or other alcohol, or eat any forbidden fruit." Manoah asked the angel of the Lord to stay, as he was going to prepare a young goat for the angel to eat. The angel said he would stay but not eat, and that they should prepare a burnt offering as a sacrifice to the Lord. Manoah made the sacrifice to the Lord, and the Lord accepted it. And when he did, the angel ascended to heaven in the fire. When the angel did not reappear, Manoah realized that the man was an angel of the Lord, and said to his wife that certainly they will die, for they have seen God. The wife said that if the Lord was going to kill them, he would not have accepted the offering, or appeared and told them wonderful things, and would not have done the miracle. The son was born, and she named him Sampson. While in Timnah, a Philistine woman caught Samson's eye, and when he returned home, he told his father and mother, who tried to get him to change his mind, asking why must he go after a pagan Philistine woman for a wife. Samson wouldn't change his mind, and told his father to get her for him. Samson's parents did not realize that this was the Lord working to create an opportunity to work against the Philistines who were ruling over Israel at the time. While Samson and his parents were traveling to Timnah, a young lion attacked Samson. During the attack, the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon him, and he ripped the lion's jaws apart with his bare hands. When the attack was over, he didn't tell his parents, and when he arrived in Timnah, he talked with the woman and was pleased. Later on, when he returned to Timnah for the wedding, he went to look at the lion's carcass and found a swarm of bees had made some honey in the carcass. So he took some and ate it, and also gave some to his parents, but didn't tell them it was from the lion's carcass. Okay, quick talk about Nazarites. Nazarites are Israelites that are consecrated to the service of God under vows to abstain from alcohol, let their hair grow, and avoid defilement by contact with corpses. Most Nazarites took the vow of their own being, of their own will. Samson was born a Nazarite. He didn't choose to be. He was born that way, consecrated as a Nazarite from birth. While in Timnah, Samson threw a party, and when the bride's parents saw him, they selected 30 young men from the town to be his companions. Samson told the men that if they were able to solve his riddle during the 7-day celebration, he would give them 30 fine linen robes and 30 sets of festive clothing. But if they could not solve the riddle, they owed him 30 fine linen robes and 30 sets of festive clothing. They agreed, so Samson said, "Here's the riddle. Out of the one who eats came something to eat. Out of the strong came something sweet." 3 days later, they were still trying to figure it out. So on the 4th day, they went to Samson's wife and told her to entice the answer out of him, or they would burn her father's house down with her in it. She went to Samson with tears in her eyes and said that he didn't love her and that he hated her because he would not share the answer to the riddle. Samson told her, "I haven't shared it with my parents, so why would I share it with you?" She continued to cry every time they were together for the rest of the celebration. And on the 7th day, he was finally tired of her nagging and told her. She then in turn explained it to the young men, who on the 7th day before sunset gave their answer. What is sweeter than honey? What is stronger than a lion? Samson replied something along the lines, "Well, if you hadn't threatened my wife, you wouldn't have known the answer." The Spirit of the Lord came on Samson again, and this time he went to the town of Ashkelon and killed 30 men, took their belongings, and gave their clothing to the men who solved the riddle. Samson was furious over what had happened and left Timnah to live with his father and mother. His wife was given to the man who was his best man. Sometime after leaving Timnah, Samson returned during the wheat harvest with a young goat as a present for the wife. He told her father that he was going to sleep with her and the father wouldn't let him in. He explained that he thought Samson hated his daughter, so he gave her in marriage to the best man, and he offered up her younger sister to be Samson's wife. Upon hearing this, Samson said that he cannot be blamed for everything he was going to do for the Philistines. He went out and gathered 300 foxes and tied their tails together and fastened a torch to their tails. He then set them loose through the grain fields, vineyards, and olive groves. He destroyed it all. The Philistine rulers demanded to know who did it. The people responded, "Samson," because his father-in-law gave his wife to be married to the best man. The Philistines got the woman and her father and burned them to death. Because of this, Samson vowed, "I won't rest until I take my revenge upon you." With great fury, Samson attacked and killed many Philistines. When he was done, he went to live in a cave in the rock at Edom. Naturally, the Philistines retaliated by setting up camp near Judah and spreading out near Lehi. The men of Judah asked the Philistines why they were attacking them, to which the Philistines replied that they had come to capture Samson and pay him back for what he did to them. 3,000 men of Judah went to the cave at Edom and asked Samson what he was doing to them, that he did not realize that the Philistines ruled over them. Samson replied that he only did to them what they had done to him. The men of Judah said they were there to tie him up and hand him over to the Philistines, which Samson replied, "Okay, if you promise not to kill me." The men of Judah said they would only tie him up and hand him over and not kill him. They tied him up with new ropes. When they arrived at Lehi, the Philistines were shouting in triumph, and once again the Spirit of the Lord came upon Samson as he snapped the new ropes as if they were as weak as burned strands of wheat. Samson found the jawbone of a recently killed donkey and killed 1,000 Philistines with it, after which he sang a little song, kind of a little happy dance, I'm sure, threw the jawbone away, and the place was named Jawbone Hill. All the fighting made Samson very thirsty, to which he cried out to the Lord that the Lord had accomplished great victory through his servant. And was the servant to die of thirst and fall into the hands of the pagans? The Lord heard his cry and caused water to gush from a hollow in the land of Lehi, and he was revived. Samson judged Israel for 20 years during the period when the Philistines dominated the land. Samson traveled to the Philistine town of Gaza and spent the night with the prostitute. While there, word spread and the men of Gaza hatched a plan to kill him at the town gates when the sun came out. Samson only stayed till midnight. He got up and took a hold of the doors at the town gate, including the frame, and lifted them on his shoulders and carried them to the top of the hill across from Hebron. So now we get into the actual most famous story of Samson, the story of Samson and Delilah. I'm sure a lot of you know the stories I previously talked about, but this one just about everybody knows. Sometime after he had slain the 1,000 Philistines with the jawbone, he fell in love with a woman named Delilah from the valley of Sorek. The Philistine rulers went to her and told her to entice Samson to tell her what makes him so strong and how can he be overpowered and tied up securely. For doing this, we will each give you 1,100 pieces of silver. Delilah asked Samson, what makes you so strong and how can you be tied up securely? Samson replied, if I were tied up with 7 new bowstrings that had not yet been dried, I would become as weak as anyone else. The Philistine rulers brought 7 new bowstrings to Delilah, and she tied Samson up with them. She had hidden some men in her house, and she cried out to Samson that the Philistines had come to capture him. Samson snapped the bowstrings like a piece of string snaps when it's burned. His secret was not discovered. Delilah said that Samson had been making fun of her and telling her lies, and she asked again how could he be tied up securely. Samson replied, if I were tied up with brand new ropes that had never been used, I'd become as weak as anyone else. Remember, that had already been done once before, and we know what happened after that. So Delilah took new ropes and tied him up. The men were still hiding as before, and she cried out that the Philistines were there to capture him. Again, Samson snapped the ropes as if they were thread. Delilah told him again that she was making fun of her and lying to her, and asked him again how to tie him up securely. I think I would have personally been, a little concerning. My lady I like was asking me how to tie me up, but that's just me. If you were to weave the 7 braids of my hair into the fabric of your loom and tighten it with the loom shuttle, I would become as weak as anyone else. While Samson slept, she wove the 7 braids into the fabric and tightened it with the loom shuttle. Once again, the men waited, and she shouted that the Philistines were coming to get him, and Samson pulled his hair from the fabric. Delilah pouted and asked Samson how could he love her if he didn't share his secrets with her. She said she had made fun of her 3 times and still not told her the secret. She pouted and nagged Samson all day to the point where he was sick of it. He finally told her, my hair has never been cut, for I was dedicated to God as a Nazirite from birth. If my head were shaved, my strength would leave me, and I would become as weak as anyone else. Delilah realized that this was the truth, so she sent for the Philistine rulers to come back one more time. So they did with the money they had promised her. Delilah lulled Samson to sleep, and she called a man to shave off his 7 locks of hair, and his strength left him. She cried out before, and Samson awoke, thinking he would do as before, but he didn't know the strength of the Lord had left him. The Philistines captured Samson and gouged his eyes out. He was taken to Gaza, where he was bound with bronze chains and forced to grind grain in the prison. During this time, his hair began to grow back. The Philistine rulers held a great festival to offer sacrifice and praise their god Dagon. "Our God has given us victory over our enemy Sampson," they shouted. When the people saw Sampson, they praised Dagon by saying that he delivered their enemy, the one who killed so many, and now he is in our power. The people demanded that Sampson be brought from the prison so he could entertain them. He was brought from the prison, where he was placed to stand between two pillars that supported the roof. Samson told the young servant who was leading him to the place to place his hands against the pillars to hold up the temple so he could rest. All the Philistine rulers were present. The temple was filled with people, and 3,000 men and women were on the roof, watching Samson amuse the crowd. Samson said to the Lord, "Sovereign Lord, remember me again. Oh God, please strengthen me just one more time. With one blow, let me pay back the Philistines for the loss of my 2 eyes." Samson put his hands on the 2 pillars that held up the temple and pushed against them. He prayed, "Let me die with the Philistines." The temple crashed down on the Philistine rulers and all the people. Samson killed more people in his death than he had during his lifetime. Samson's brothers and other relatives gathered the body and buried him near his father. Samson judged Israel for 20 years. Samson was not perfect. He didn't always follow the Nazirite vow he was born with. His actions were fueled by revenge for what had been done to him. However, the Lord used him to accomplish great things, as he was born on purpose, for a purpose. He just didn't know it. We're all born on purpose for a purpose. Some know their purpose and are following the path. Others are still discovering their purpose and one day will follow their path. I pray that each of you watching this today finds and follows your path, finds and follows your purpose. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a great day.
Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon and be gracious to you. Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon and be gracious to you. Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. Amen. 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 Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon and be gracious to you. Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. As we receive, we agree, amen. 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 Amen.
generations, your family, your children, their children, their children. May His favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family, your children, their children, their children. May His favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family, and your children, and their children, and their children. May His favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family, and your children, and their children, and their children. May His presence go before you and behind you and beside you, all around you and within you. He is with you. He is with you in the morning, in the evening, in your coming and your going, in your weeping and rejoicing. He is for you. 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 Children and their children and their children. May His presence go before you and behind you and beside you, all around you and within you. He is with you. He is with you in the morning, in the evening, in your coming and your going, in your weeping and rejoicing. He is for you. 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 He is for you.
Wow, what an amazing time of worship and an amazing message from Pastor Scott. If God spoke to you in any way, leave a comment or message us. We want to hear your story. This message is available on demand, so share it with someone who you want to encourage. Don't forget, if you want to support all God is doing through the village and worship God with your giving, we have a few different ways for you to do that. You can text any amount to the number listed below or visit our website at www.myvillage.church and click on the Giving tab. Lastly, the Village is built on the foundation of prayer. If you have any prayer requests, please email them to amen@myvillage.church so we can stand in the gap with you. Well, church, that's all from us. We look forward to worshiping God